Hello everyone and welcome to Caroline's Craft Tree. Today I'm just going to do a tutorial on how I made these fiber ribbons. I've had a few people ask me how I make mine. So I thought I would just give you a little bit of a video on how I did them. They're very easy. And you can do any color, any size, etc. that you like. So just a few different colors that I've made. And mostly, for the most part, I just use scraps of fabric and ribbon and whatnot. So I've got a big pile of odds and ends, some not so much odds and ends, of different fibers and just different things. I have some of these. These are a 1/2 inch, and I'm using them because I have a whole bunch of them. And then I have this nylon thread. It is really strong, and it's actually made for making fishing rods, for putting the eyes onto the rod, and you cannot break it. So you want a really strong thread of some kind. So let's get started. I've got some things. I've got some thin fabric strips, and I'm going to make my tassels that long, so that is a little over 15 inches. And the reason I'm doing it that long was because that's how long that piece of fabric was. So of course we need scissors. And these are going to be, for the most part, they're going to be a neutral color. So I'm going to use 4 little strands of this fabric, and it's cut around 3/8 of an inch wide. You can do them thinner, you can do them thicker. I'm going to put in just a touch of color. So we've got some blue here. Now, I don't like my strands very thick. So when I get something that I feel is a bit thick, not thick wide, I will just cut it in half. Pretty much any ribbon or lace is really easy to cut in half, and most of it will not fray. And I don't worry too much about making it perfectly even or anything like that. I've got a little bit of ribbon here which we'll use, and just some lace which isn't very wide. So we'll just throw on a couple of those. I mean, really, you can use anything. Here is some, I don't really know what that is. It's some kind of lace or trim. It's kind of pretty. Put a chunk of that on. Got a little bit of gold ribbon. And that's a little wide, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that down as well. Now, how many pieces you add will depend on how big do you want your tassel. I've never actually counted how many I put on. You do have to consider how big your ring is that you're going to be putting it on, because it's got to be able to fit on there. Let's put a piece of this pink on, just because we can. Oops, my light turned off. Guess I touched the button. I'm going to cut this pink in half as well. And there's some pink. Oh, let's put on some of this here. Not sure what this is called, but it's actually quite pretty. I sometimes will call it ladder lace just because it looks like a ladder. Let's put on 2 of those. And I'm not too picky on how I pile it up. Usually if I'm going to sit down and make these, I'll make quite a few. So I'll lay them all out in a row of all the different things. And okay, let's throw on some eyelash trim. This is just a tan color. You could do any color you like. And we've got some cream color. Let's add on one of those too. And let's put on some of this gold. Give it a little bit of bling. Actually, I think I'll use 2 of these. And we've got some of this little brown stuff. Let's put on 2 of those as well. Okay, that should probably be enough. So as you can see, by the time you put it together, it's going to be fairly bushy. So before I put it into my ring, I want to decide, because on these, after I tie the string, I've tied one thing of eyelash trim around where I put the string. So I need to decide, and I think I'll just use this cream. So I want it the same length as what my tassel is, and a little bit extra for my knot that I'm going to tie. So we'll set that aside so we have it. Okay, this is probably the hardest part, is getting all these through this ring. So I usually just twist up the end like so, and then I start pushing them all through the ring. And of course you want it halfway through, just like so. There's the ring, there's your tassel. I don't worry too much about them lining up, because you can always trim that after. And if some are longer, some are shorter, it's still okay. So now comes the fun part of tying your thread just below the ring. So as you can see with these, it's not very far. My string would be there. So we need some of this. I like to use a fair bit of thread, just because then I can hang on to it and tie it. So holding my tassel like so, I will tuck my one thread under my thumb. And you might find an easier way. I might be doing it the hard way, who knows. So I take my thread and I'll wrap it around about 3-4 times, because at that you can pull it with still pulling all your threads tight. So I'll set that down and I'll gather up my 2 threads, and this way I can pull it tight. Whoops, and it just came undone, so let's wrap it around another time or 2. Okay, so now I want to, when I tie my first part of the knot, I'm going to go around once. I'm going to put it through twice. And I'm going to put it through a 3rd time. This way, when I pull it tight, it's going to stay tight, or relatively tight. So I don't just grab it and yank, I pull slow and steady to try to tighten it all up. Now you can see when I let go, it's still tight in there. And then I'm just going to do this one time. Do another knot. I'm going to do that a couple more times just to make sure that knot is secure. One more time. Now I don't worry about cutting my thread off too close, because that's going to get covered up anyway. Excuse my arm. So we've got the start of it. Now we're going to take the piece of eyelash trim, sort of even it up, and I'm going to put it on relatively the same way. I'm going to hold my tassel with my eyelash trim. I'm going to wrap it around twice. Now I can tie that off. Eyelash trim is not fun to tie in a knot, but the knot doesn't have to be really tight or in a perfect spot, because with the eyelash part of it, it just kind of goes all over anyways. That will be part of the tassel now. So that is pretty much it. We have a fabric tassel. I just attach mine with a bulb pin at the top. And we are done. So let's make one more. As you can see, with all the bits of eyelash trim, it does get a little messy. So I've got some more strips here, and they're pretty much the same. This is the same length as the one we just did, so we'll do that length there. We'll just throw on a bunch of this. This is a different kind of lace, but as I say, you can pretty much use any kind of scraps, and different lengths are fine. Here's a little white piece of organza ribbon. We got some of this again. I have a piece of tanned colored seam binding. So I'm going to cut that in half as well. I just find the thinner pieces, they lay nicer. And you can kind of mix them up a little more inside the tassel. But it's not something that you have to do. A little bit folded there. It's a little trickier cut. in half when it's folded. But once you get going on these, they go pretty quick. Let's put another piece of this in there. No, it's not big enough. Let's put in a few of these. There's those. Let's put in some of this gold stuff. If you're like me, you have lots of scraps of lace and ribbon that they're not really scraps. They're a few feet long, but not quite big enough to do too much with. But they do work great for making these fabric tassels. I've made them with just eyelash trim. Actually, the first few I made was just eyelash trim, and then I decided I should start adding little fabric bits and pieces. And okay, let's put in a few of this color. And these look good on any journal. I love tassels on journals that I make. And usually when I make a journal and sell it, I usually give a couple extra tassels with it. So I don't have quite as much in this one yet. Let's see what else we've got. We've got this brown lace. And it is quite wide. So I'm going to cut this bottom part off and use that as one. I do like to make these in different color themes as well as some mixed themes. Because when I do them, I like to make a whole bunch at one time. I have a wall in my craft room which I called my tassel wall. And it is where I hang all my tassels, my beaded ones, my thread ones, etc. Now we got a couple more pieces of fabric too, so let's put those in there. Okay, so there's all the things together. We'll use this darker color brown for this one. Okay, so now the same thing, we're gonna take all those, pick all those fibers up together. I'm gonna come down to the end and I'm going to twist it around again so I can put it through the ring. Now you could use any kind of ring you wanted. Old key rings and whatnot. I just use these ones that I have because I have probably 200 of them. I'm not even sure where I got them from. And just trying to use them up. So I'll push that onto there. Some I've had to actually put it through piece by piece, because you can see right here where this one just isn't being picked up. So I'll try to get them pushed through there enough so I can grab it. There we go. Of course, the bigger the ring, the easier it would be to file those through, but I wouldn't want too big of a ring. I think it would take away from the tassel. But that's just my thinking. Okay, so we've got all those through there. Now let's take a piece of our thread. I'm going to say I probably take about 1.5 feet of thread. And as I say, that's purely so I have something to hang on to when I'm trying to tie. But my suggestion is getting a really, really strong thread so that you're not breaking it. Okay, so again, I'm going to hold my tassel like so. I'm going to put my thread under my thumb, wrap it around here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Lay it down. Now when I'm laying it down, I do just hold the end like so. So I'm just kind of holding the thread in place when I'm doing that. Okay, so let's lay it down. Let's pull it just a bit, just to tighten up those 4 rounds. But if you go and start pulling too tight, you just kind of unravel it like I did the first time. Okay, now just like you're going to start tying your shoe, under 1, 2, 3, pull tight. This is we're just going to pull steady and fairly hard. I don't think I've ever broke this brown thread. Knock on wood. And my second knot. And my third knot. And 4th knot. Then we'll cut off the threads. So you can see the threads here. Or I hope you can. I'm leaving like 1/2 inch or so. Your knot is less likely to come undone. Although tying the knot 3-4 times, it probably wouldn't. And I'm going to lay that down. I like to lay it so that that ends relatively the same length as the tassel. Hold it the same way as when doing the thread. Now once, twice, pick up my brown. I'm going to tie our knot. This just really helps to finish your tassel off nicely. And 2. And there we have the second tassel. So now to trim these, I would hold it in between my fingers like so, and I would pull it down, and then you can trim off and make it even if you wanted to. Some people might like that messy look. It's all up to you on that one. I usually will wait until I put it on a journal, and then I'll let the journal determine how long I want it. So there's the one we made, and there is the first one we made. And different angles will actually make the tassel look totally different. This one you see a little more of the red from that strip and the colors. So there you go. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I'm going to clean up my mess. And I might even make some more, being that I have all this stuff out anyways. But I hope you'll give this a try. I hope you find the instructions easy to follow. and have fun making some. I would love to see the ones that you make, so feel free to send me a picture or anything. Post it on Facebook, any of that fun stuff. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. Bye for now.